welcome to our podcast. I'm Jess.
I'm Mandy.
And we are drama bonded. And today we are wrapping up our coverage of the Traitors and covering 3 episodes of The Bachelor.
That's a lot.
It is a lot.
How are you feeling with Traitors being over?
I'm sad that it's over. I have been having so much fun watching on Thursdays. Like, it's something to look forward to. So now that I don't have that, there's like a hole in my reality TV watching. So looking forward to what fills that next. How about you?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I was like a little disappointed in the ending. I mean, it was, I guess, a good kumbaya moment. I was hoping it'd be like a little bit more cutthroat.
Totally can see that.
But it was still fun. I'm so glad we covered it. I would cover it again. I'm interested to see who they would cast for the next season. Also, I think it would be interesting if they did like a Traitors All-Stars and pulled people from like all 3 of the first 3 seasons that like really stood out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll just be interesting to see what else they do with that show.
I agree. And like who gets roped into to playing. So yeah, I think there's a lot of potential there for like each season to be its own fun experience. So yeah.
Do you want to start with Traitors or The Bachelor?
Let's start with Traitors. I feel like there's probably maybe slightly less to talk about.
That sounds good.
Okay, so we left off with Britney heading to the clandestine meeting.
Yep, and no surprise, it's Danielle on the other side.
Yep. And what's Britney to do? I mean, get eliminated or accept becoming a traitor.
I mean, it's okay. I'm not gonna lie. She's kind of being put in a shitty position.
Oh,
because
yeah.
at this point in the game, Danielle's starting to be like really suspected for being a traitor, and so like not only is it hard to be kind of like attached to someone who is already starting to be suspected, but also the fact that Danielle and Britney were so openly they had this very public alliance, like everyone knew that they were close.
Well, and they're the last 2 Big Brother players. Like they're connected not only in their game show, but also like they have history and they're being friends. So
yeah, so now I don't know. I do think that Britney was kind of put in a shitty position because like she had to say yes. She did the best she could with it, but you know, she wasn't necessarily handed the best chance.
yeah, I agree completely. I do love that they finally murdered Tom Sandoval. Like that fucker cannot get to the end, and he did not. So, whew.
But man, was he happy with his performance. He said he was a pleasure to work with.
Oh my God. It killed
like,
me.
I had no idea I would be so good at this game. Like, wow, what a...
And like, Tom, no, you weren't good at this game. You got pulled along because you were a faithful that caused chaos. So he was just a total pawn. I mean, Tom Sandoval is just forever going to be Tom Sandoval, right? Like, so full of himself, completely unaware of who he actually is. Just Tom.
Yes, Tom. Yeah, man, to see the world through Tom Sandoval's eyes, what would that be like? But yeah, no surprise that they chose Tom. So happy he didn't make it to the end.
Yeah. So I think that was a fine choice. I mean, maybe they should have murdered Dylan. But they didn't, so they go and now what do you think of this power of the seer?
I'm a little confused. So they do the challenges.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was interesting that they don't get to find out at the end of the challenge like who the seer is while they're all just standing there. And Alan says that they're going to find out on the other side of the round table.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was like, what if they accidentally kill off the seer. Is that like, do you think that's why they do you think that's why they did the round table before they announced who the seer was? Is because that would maybe put a target on someone's back if they were the seer?
Yeah, I do. And so in order for that to play out, they just had to get through that round table first.
But then my question is, what if Danielle had been the seer? And so she goes home.
It would probably default to the person who had the second most amount of money.
Okay, because I was gonna say it seemed like that was an important part of gameplay. Like it had to happen. Like they couldn't just like not do that part.
Totally. Yeah. So it did feel like a really heavily produced aspect of the game. And I don't know. I don't know. I don't know that it added anything for me. I mean, I guess in a sense it does, right? Because it really gets the ball rolling and people going after the last few people who remain.
I think it would have added something if Britney hadn't won it. I think it would have added something if a faithful had won it.
Yeah, Britney winning it was really probably the most boring outcome.
I mean, it was great for her because otherwise she legitimately would have been screwed. But I don't know. I think it would have been more interesting to watch if a faithful had won it.
Yeah, I agree. So they go through their walk down memory lane, kind of like call back to the clown, the dolls, the money and the cages, the coins with the cage boys. Um,
I have to tell you, the scene with the clowns when they're like running around,
oh
I was
yeah,
like, yes, our time playing Mario Party has trained us for this game.
we could do it. I know. I know. Well, and then you've only got 5 clowns to keep track of. I mean, that's only 5. That's still so many, but like you can do this. Yeah, loved
I'm
that.
like, this is like a mini game in real life. I just thought that was funny. And then of course Danielle is seemingly winning as they
She just
progress
went
throughout the challenges.
she went way too hard. As is evident by the conclusion at the end of this episode of like everything she's just not played well and there was nowhere left for her to hide. She should not have gone for this seer position.
Yeah. I mean, I understand how she in her mind like can't afford not to go for it,
She
especially when everyone thinks she is the traitor.
Yeah, she played herself into a corner with that. Like I don't know if she had a better option, but it wasn't a good look. So,
Agreed.
yeah. Um then the round table, right? Like damn, a tie vote.
Well, I want to talk about Dolores's
Oh,
Dolos.
Dolores.
Man, I thought she was gonna go in and vote for Gabby. And then when she says Ivar, I'm just kind of like, cricket, cricket, what? Like, where did that come from? It felt like it came out of left field. Um, I don't know. Dolores has really, I feel like on the one hand, she's added very little value because her votes are so unproductive. But on the other hand, it's like she's always kind of bringing this element of chaos that we need in the game. And
I
so
I see myself in Dolores's gameplay and that like I don't know if she's being strategic about this, but I always have this plan of like when I play, if I know I can't win, my goal is just maximum chaos then. Like how do I sort of ruin it? Not ruin it, but like really make other people have to work for it. And I feel like Dolores has done this. Like she just chaotically is just she's going to do what she's going to do and it's going to really foil some plans.
I appreciate that she always wasn't always voting with the house and that she was like, no, I think this person's a traitor and kind of just was like going to do what she was going to do.
Oh, yeah.
I kind
Hilarious
of,
TV. Loved it when she kept going
yeah,
after Tom Sandoval. Like, thank you. We needed that.
we
My
did
soul
it.
needed that. Like,
Someone
healing.
had to go after Tom Sandoval.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, tie vote.
Yeah. So they redo it. Danielle and Ivar can't vote. And Brittany swears she looks over and like is and they do show us that scene of like Dolores looking over at Danielle. And Brittany just do you think she really interpreted it wrong? Do you think she saw this as her moment to cut Danielle and to just run with it? what is your take on the Britney blip where she then ends up voting Danielle out, thinking that that's the direction the house is going to go?
I think that she knew that her vote wasn't going to save Danielle and that she had to do what she had to do.
Yeah. But her vote would have saved Danielle and it would have come to a tie. But
Okay, so what happens when there's a tie?
I think that they literally just flip a coin.
I'm when I say like her vote wouldn't save Danielle, I think she meant like in the game, like she knew that it was too stacked against Danielle.
It was, but I also don't think that voting for Danielle and then the reaction, like, yeah, but yeah, I guess what I'm trying to say is I think that Britney still could have played it off by voting for Ivar, and it would have drawn less suspicion in two ways, in that I don't know. I guess maybe in only one way is that like maybe Danielle wouldn't have come after her then if she had gone home. And I think like that wouldn't have been the clue. But I do think there's a world in which Danielle can Britney could have played off like being persuaded by Dolores and gotten some heat off of herself that way too. But yeah, it's hard to tell. That was another really tough spot, but that another thing that like that was largely Danielle's fault.
Yeah, it was largely Danielle's fault. And I think Britney was put in a really bad position. And at this point, it's like, even if she kept Danielle in the game in that moment, Danielle's time left in the game was basically over. Like, she would have been the next person eliminated.
Yeah, but then Britney's reaction to the whole thing didn't do her any favors either. She had too strong of a reaction, and I do understand, like, she had that. I think that was a very real emotional response, and it can be really hard to, like, rein that in the moment, and I think that that also gave her away. Like, that was never going to be an easy thing to sell, that, like, she wasn't feeling really attached to Danielle.
And I also don't blame Danielle for, like, calling out Britney as she was voted out because, you know, you kind of, in those moments, you are emotionally charged and you just say things whether you should or not.
Well, and it's not the first time. So, you know, even if the circumstances are different and Britney was genuinely like, didn't see a way forward, that still sucks on Danielle's
she also
part.
kind of called out Dylan too, but it wasn't the same.
Well, maybe it could have been played off had Britney not had the visceral reaction that she had, but she had what she had. So we find out Britney's the seer.
Yeah, and then so she chooses Gabby.
Yeah. Gabby looked so hot this episode, by the way. That outfit was smoking. In no way practical. And I love that Dylan was like, "Can you even raise your hands?" Just no.
Yeah, Gabby's fashion has been on point. This outfit, though, I was like, it's very kind of like couture and edgy and like not functional at all.
No function.
But of course, she looks stunning, and I want the outfit. I want to wear something not functional so I can look as hot as Gabby.
Yeah, and like honestly, what a perfect time to wear it. You're literally just on a TV show where you're walking around and don't have to do anything except for when they had them change into outfits, like, or change for like the challenge, but everybody changed, right? Otherwise, your whole purpose is just to be there looking super hot, and she nailed it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, shopping to go on the show would be the funnest thing.
Yeah. Unfortunately, for the most part, I think you have to be somebody to be on this show, which is really too bad. Because this would be super fun to be on, but nobody wants to just watch nobodies do it. So we got to get onto a different reality TV show first, and then.
I mean, in some ways, I think watching a bunch of nobodies do it would be just as interesting. Just because, like, you would know so much less about them and be learning about them as you go, and you'd have less expectations of like who's smart at gaming, who's not. I don't know. It could be interesting.
Yeah. Oh, that is one thing that I don't think we talked about, though. Gabby really going after Danielle in the last episode and sitting in the room with Danielle, refusing to give in to the silence, just drinking her tea, and like the looks
Like,
on her.
it's like,
Yeah,
I'm just sitting next to a cold, hard killer and I'm not leaving.
I loved it. I loved it that she just was like, nope, not even, just drank that tea.
Oh my God, that was epic.
She's been everything I was hoping she would be and more.
Oh, yeah, 1000%.
Yeah. So, okay.
We need her on more shows. Like, how do we get more of Gabby on television?
I think I read that she did get signed by a talent agent or a talent agency. So hopefully that means we get more Gabby Wendy.
Yeah, she's fabulous. Did you
Okay.
see that, she was on Watch What Happens Live. I haven't watched the episode, but I just saw a snippet of it. And Andy asks her, if you were a housewife, what would your tagline be? And it was something like, I
I'm
have no problem cutting people, but I enjoy scissoring.
but I love to scissor. Yeah.
Yeah.
And says that Dylan helped her come up with that and he's also a lesbian. And like I am so surprised that I ended up really liking Dylan despite everything. Like I think him and Gabby's sort of rapport has been really fun to watch. Like the different ways that they've played the game have worked well together. And I think that it like really added to this show. So very
Yeah.
fun.
I listened to his interview on Nick's podcast and that made me like him even more. I just think he's like a really down to earth person. And I think, I don't know, I would watch more of him for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I would too. So they go just kind of like this whole episode, on the podcast that I listened to, Rob has a podcast. Rob called it feeling like they left the cliffhanger of who Britney voted for as a cliffhanger because they knew they had nothing really for the finale. And like I do think that that was true because the finale, even though I had a ton of fun watching it, I was very like happy to be there. I can also acknowledge that it like wasn't the most riveting television. Um
Yeah. I mean, you got to give it to Britney. She gave it all she got. She gave it all she had. Like, she went in with guns ablazing and she did her best.
oh my god, Dylan saying that he's like that is literally what it looks like to bring a knife to a gunfight, referring to himself as showing up with a knife. And I died. Like he's the exact opposite of Tom Sandoval, right? Like he's got total awareness and can admit when he's just not prepared, wasn't ready.
Yeah.
So
And
fucking good. I love self-aware people who are also funny because I think that is some of the funniest humor.
this is where her big brother colors really fly, is where it's like, she is coming prepared. She has her facts. She is ready to just like go at Dylan with everything she's got. And, unfortunately, we already knew that it was too stacked against her. But I admire her for trying. Like, damn.
Oh my God. Yeah, she should have, like, I don't think that there was a really good way for her to get out of that. Like, the heat was on her just because she was a seer. And I think that's a really smart move from the rest of the players to go after the seer. And so it would have been terrible had she not gone in ready to fight. But also, that was so out of character for how she had played the game. If she had the wherewithal or the ability to do that in a more subtle way, I don't even know if there would have been a way to do that. But she just, yeah, that was so out of character that became pretty clear she was definitely
Desperate.
desperate. Yeah, just grasping for anything. So
I thought it was kind of ironic that she's wearing like this all white dress with like this glistening, like almost halo like headband.
yeah, she was really trying to play up that innocence, man. Just like, not
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, she had this angelic look to her. So yeah, not surprised. What did you think about the way it plays out after that?
Was Britney part of the cars getting to like they figured out the map, they go get all the money, they come back. Yeah, she was part of that,
She
right?
was.
And then the helicopter dropping the bags in the circle of fire. The show is so dramatic and also just like
That
what
looks
is
fun. I
yeah.
wanna do that.
Oh, yeah, I would do that. But like in the grand scheme of things, like why did it have to be a circle of fire? I guess for the dramatics of it all, but it just was fun and really silly. Um,
And I feel like that kind of sums up this show.
yes. You had sent me that interview
So
with Alan.
unnecessarily over the top.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, Alan had said that in an interview too, that even for him it was very high camp, which is saying something. So let's think. They do that, they get the money. Brittany goes home. They don't know if she's a traitor or not. And then they all meet at the fire and right, and then they get to decide they choose red or green on if they're eliminating another person or if they're just going to go with who they've got. And if any
Why not
person votes
eliminate
red,
another person?
I know. I like they played it up so hard thinking like making us think that Dolores was definitely going to go after Dylan. But in the end, they just all decided to be really nice collegial people who, after paying taxes and fees, probably all took home like $2,000.
Okay, but didn't Ivar say that I think he literally said he wasn't there for the money. Why share money with Ivar? Like, get
Oh,
rid of
yeah.
him.
Fuck that guy.
Like,
We
even
don't
if
need
you
a
think
British or a British royal winning money on a reality TV show. Also, he was boring as fuck. Like that man added truly nothing. Dolores brought her chaos. And is she super rich and doesn't need the money? Yeah. But like she gave us good TV. Ivar was just a nothing burger the whole time.
yeah, he did not add a lot. Why split it 4 ways when you could split it 3 ways? I just didn't really quite understand that. And it was kind of like, this is when I want the reality television aspect to come out. Like, I want people to be cutthroat. I want people to create some drama.
You
Like, I
want
want
self-interested players.
yeah, like, come on. And you know that if Britney was at the end, like, there's no way, I don't know, just like we need players like Britney at the end who will cut throats.
Yeah, I agree. However, I was excited that Gabby and Dylan did it and, the hangers
Yeah, me
on Dolores and Ivar, whatever, is what
no,
it
I
is.
do. Because I loved Gabby and Dylan, and I'm glad that they were at the end and they won. I was just kind of disappointed that they split it
4 ways.
4 ways and we had very little drama.
For sure. Also, I did appreciate Gabby saying that Dylan was very comforting during the helicopter thing, and she's like, "But don't tell him." So good. Ugh, loved it. Yeah, so kind of like it's definitely an anticlimactic ending.
Yeah, but I don't know. I guess they said that I don't know how the first 2 seasons ended, but they said this is the first time that it's ended this way. So I guess if you watch the first 2 seasons, this one would be a novel just for that. But
Yeah,
I thought it was pretty vanilla.
for sure. I would agree with that. Anything I don't think we really need to get too much into the reunion, but are there any things you want to touch on before we move on to The Bachelor?
Love Bob the drag queen's look with his like long bloody
Oh
hands.
my gosh. Also, what was up with Dorinda? Like, girl, chill.
Yeah,
That
I
felt
also
like way manufactured, but I guess they know how to come. The Bravo folks know how to show up to a reunion and make good television, and I guess I have to believe that that's what she was doing. She just know she needed a tagline or a thing to hook it in.
I mean, like, she was on the show for 10 minutes and she had to show up and cause some drama.
Yeah.
I do think that Bob the drag queen, I was surprised, like, how involved he was in the reunion just because I also felt like he wasn't on the show for very long. I mean, I loved him. I was just surprised at, like, uh, how much he was able to contribute to the reunion, which was a ton. I'm trying to think of I don't think there's anything else that really stands out for me.
I had listened to an interview with Boston Rob and then listening to him on the reunion. I have such mixed feelings about him. He's so fucking arrogant, but he's also really good at the game. And I think he also has some self-awareness around, like, he was not set up to do well, just the way that he came into it, everybody kind of knowing him. But man, that guy just is very full of himself, and Sierra did not need to give him that ego boost by talking about how hot he used to be. Although I guess used to be being a key word there, so
I mean, I just barely saw pictures and footage of him when he was younger on Survivor, and damn, I'm not gonna lie, he was very
I know, and he's got that smile, man. He does. He knew what was up, but
yeah,
yeah. Oh, wow. Anything else?
I don't think so. Hey, Bachelor?
The Bachelor.
Oh man.
Whoa. Do we just have stuff to cover?
Yeah. I mean, the Carolina show goes on
And on.
and on.
I mean, yeah, it has spanned 3 full episodes, and I think the season is only gonna be 10 episodes, is that right? So for her to take up at least 3 of them, maybe 4, that's like she's gotta have up there, like, the most screen time.
Oh, for sure.
So, okay, we're in Scotland.
We're in Scotland. We find out that Juliana is getting a one-on-one date. And this is kind of in essence like the pretty woman date, except it's more of like a princess theme in Scotland. So they show up at this castle and they're getting the royal treatment and they get to try on all these beautiful clothes. I thought Grant's summary of his outfit was pretty funny when he was talking about like the purse that went with the kilt outfit and how it was like had fur on it. And he's like, I don't know what it's for, but it's pretty badass. So I thought that was cute.
I thought they looked best. Her plaid dress was my favorite. She should have gone with that one and not the pink dress. And that comes from somebody who loves pink. Like, that plaid dress was just next level stunning, but
Is also just gorgeous, you know? I feel
yeah,
like whatever.
Grant's not hard on the eyeballs.
So then they go to like a ball where there's a string quartet and there's dancing. Definitely has kind of like Bridgerton vibes.
Oh, yeah. Do you think those are paid actors or people who just like they just like put out a casting call and were like couples with ballroom dancing experience or
Interesting. I don't know.
because like I want to do that. I want to go dress up in dumb clothes and dance around and be a total creeper on a bachelor date.
Well, that's a good question.
I should look into that. The internet holds the answer for me. I don't know
Yeah,
why
you could be
I
an actual date.
yeah. They'd never do a date in Utah. Even Latia took her family up to Wyoming, so.
Yeah, they've come to Park City before on past seasons.
Oh, okay. Well,
Um, you know the High West Distillery in Wanship?
yeah.
They did I think it was might have been Caitlin Bristow's season finale up there. I
Oh,
don't
that makes sense.
around then someone did it. Um
The
so
second
the
time Nick's heart got broken. Whew.
but on Juliana's date, she opens up with Grant about some of her background and how she grew up being exposed to, I'm assuming it's a family member. I don't think she explicitly says, but someone close in her life was struggling with addiction issues and how much that impacted her. And so now that's something that her and Grant have in common.
Uh, I understand that like finding somebody who understands your particular I don't want to say flavor, but I don't know what other word to use, like your particular flavor of grief and like being able to find comfort in that and to like understanding I do get, but it always makes me a little nervous when it happens on these shows because it's already this accelerated experience and I think that sometimes those moments can give like a false sense of like better understanding than actually warrants. And sometimes it works out, but a lot of the time it makes me nervous for parties involved.
I think that's totally fair. On the one hand, I think it was awesome seeing how Grant could show up for her and comfort her and like share his own experience and make her feel seen and heard and safe in that moment. But on the other hand, I think you're totally right. There is I think it's a double-edged sword, and I don't know how much that's going to impact his decision, you know?
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Does he pick Juliana because they have all that in common and
Which is
he
maybe not the thing that you want to pick a partner over ultimately. Like, it can be a factor, but sometimes just given the limited amount of interactions, there can be too much weight on something like that.
totally. And so it'll be interesting to see how much weight he gives it because I don't know, it seemed very impactful. It seemed like a big deal.
Yeah, because he was crying too. Like, he definitely
He was very moved by it,
yeah.
which is I mean, I don't understand it because I haven't personally been through that as a child. I don't know. We'll see. We'll
We'll
see
see.
what
I
happens.
know, we just yep, yep, yep.
So then we find out that they get the group date card and it has Zoe's name on it. And so Zoe now knows that she is the only person not getting a one-on-one date before hometowns.
Which is wild. That should just be, like, a red flag of, like, "Pack your bags, girl."
Well, yeah, because like if I was Zoe, I wouldn't want to take Grant home to meet my family if we hadn't had that much one-on-one time together.
Yeah, I find that, like, that's such a hard position for her to be in because Grant sort of plays it off of, like, "I didn't need it." But what if she needed it? What if, like, that was important for her, and why are her feelings not taken into consideration there as much as they should be? I don't know. That is always, like, that bugs me about the show sometimes is it becomes too much I mean, it's called The Bachelor, right? But, like, the women are also a participant and deserve to be acknowledged as, like, a part of what's going on, and that felt like a real dismissal of Zoe.
Yeah, I'll be honest, like I can't believe she went through with going to hometowns, especially I don't know. I think they have so little time and the fact that you would have even less time not having that one-on-one, it's like, do you even know him well enough to introduce him to your family? Like, do you like you're saying, like, are you invested enough in this at this point to take the next step?
Yeah, there's a lot there, I think, more so than the show is, like, giving credit to, like, really unpack. But man, she rolls with it. She goes on the group date.
Yeah, and I mean, I thought that day looked pretty fun. They're doing kind of like the Highland Games
Oh,
stuff.
yeah, I would be there for that.
Yeah, like the saber toss. Serafina was killing it. And then as the date goes on, we see Carolina kind of like sitting off on the side and not participating in what's going on. And the women are already getting a little bristly about it. And of course, Grant goes over to Carolina and pulls her aside to have a conversation with her. And in the conversation, Carolina basically just says, like, I feel like it's obvious you have stronger connections with other people. And so, like, why am I even here?
Yeah, I
Um,
was surprised. Like, I don't know, that felt to me like that did have parallels to Maria, right? Also sort of, um fishing, but maybe not fishing and not getting exactly what she wanted out of it.
which I thought Grant navigated that conversation really well. And I
He
liked that
did.
he anchored it back to like he wants to be with someone that trusts him and he can trust and kind of making it more about that and giving her the opportunity to well ultimately it doesn't end up in her favor but he honestly could have sent her home right then. I kind of don't know why he didn't.
Yeah,
uh
I was so surprised. I really felt like that's the direction that was going. Just
yeah, because at one point he even says like if this is this hard should we keep trying or something like
and
that.
I do think there's that interesting dichotomy, right? Of like Carolina is acting like a totally normal, rational person when you step back from the show and look in and are like, yeah, this whole situation is like so fucking wild. Of course you're uncomfortable with it. Of course this doesn't feel good. Of course you're going to like retreat, withdraw, not sure how to handle this. But then the flip side of it is like you are on a reality TV show and the premise is this one man is dating what, 20 other women? You sort of knew what you were signing up for. And I guess maybe you don't know that you wouldn't be comfortable with that until you're in that situation. But yeah, sort of like at that moment, it did seem to make more sense that Carolina should have just gone home then.
Yeah, because he ends up not taking her to hometowns. And so I'm wondering if he originally was going to take her to hometowns and if what Dina ended up telling him impacted his decision, or if he's just trying to play the show super by the book and just wanting to send her home at a rose ceremony instead of just like, if I was Carolina, I would have rather just go home after that conversation.
Oh, yeah. She wasn't getting what she wanted out of that. And yeah, I do think that that's also always an interesting thing to consider of like the rule followers of these guys. And, the bachelorettes too, that we've talked about this, that there's a structure to the show and they adhere to it maybe a little too much, like to the detriment of everybody involved, but they do it anyway.
It totally depends on the bachelor or lead, I should say, because some of them lead with their heart and kind of just do whatever they want, whereas other ones tend to, I think, be really invested in the production side of things and wanting the production to guide them and tell them what to do and how things are going to be.
I mean, just like comparing Rachel to like Caitlin Bristow.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I get that. And Grant definitely is just sort of falling into, and that's fine. It makes sense. It would be weird you don't want to piss off the producers. You don't want to make the show mad. So I also like, that's not a judgment on Grant for like going with the like sort of the structure and the rules around this. But
has Grant sent any of the women home on a one-on-one date?
Nope. I think outside of Rose has gone home outside of a rose ceremony, but she self-eliminated. So
interesting. All right. So then we go to the after party, the cocktail hour of this date. And this is where a lot of shit goes down between the women.
Ooh, yeah.
What did you think about Dina kind of taking on Carolina and all of that?
I don't know. I mean, knee-jerk reaction to it all, and like I have always a hard time moving past it, is like just don't engage. Do not engage with the drama. And I think that Dina, but the flip side of it is I also understand everybody's frustrated. Everybody's sleep deprived. Nobody's eating the food that they should be eating. They're traveling all over the place. Like it's already a high stress situation. And then also you add in all those other factors. It makes sense to me that people are going to take issue with one another. But it did make me laugh when she's like, you better not be going and talking to Grant. That would be wild. I was like, Dina, well, I don't know what you think is going to happen here.
She said that would be crazy. And that's when Carolina goes, I guess I'm crazy and evil.
I go back and forth on this, right? Like there's really, in my mind, I don't think that it's like, it feels to me a pretty solid like 50-50, maybe slightly more in the direction of the house being kind of ridiculous. But at the same time, like Carolina just cannot read a room and does nothing to help herself in these situations either. And it always just sort of like adds fuel to the fire. And I think walking up the stairs, singing her song and talking to Grant did not help.
Yeah, I see both sides of it. I do think that the house kind of becomes a bully. And I think it's like, a little bit of mob mentality. It's easier to be with the house than against the house.
Well, I think we've seen that too with like Shanae, right? In the house, it felt like she was horrible, but then the women were like, their colors really showed at the Women Tell All. And then we loved her on Bachelor in Paradise. So you know that the truth is like somewhere in the middle then. It's not so black and white like that. And I think that's always good to keep in mind.
Yeah, I just know that if I was on the show with my personality, and I don't know, maybe this isn't relevant, but I try to think of like what I would be doing or how I'd be reacting in these types of environments. And I know that I would be avoiding rocking the boat. It's like I would care if I was taking away other people's time. Like if I had a rose, I think I would be more sensitive to the fact that other people who didn't have roses like want time. I think that's just.
Well, and that can be handled so smoothly too by just popping in there and being like, hey, I have a rose. I'm going to give other women their time tonight, but I want you to know that I'm thinking about you and I'm like respectfully giving you some space. But what I really want to be doing is be all over you right now. And then just leave.
Have your moment.
And like let him know that you're thinking about him and then get out of there and not, yeah. Do you think though, because sometimes when I watch these things, like part of me really like younger parts of me identify with Carolina and like that discomfort and sort of needing to separate and being really emotional and not in like a self-aware kind of way or a way that like really takes in I think maybe I'm projecting, but to me it seems like Carolina thinks that her emotions happen in a vacuum and they don't, and there are impacts of like her behavior impacts other people, right? And that's such a hard thing when you have privilege and have not really experienced that to know. However, like younger parts of me identify with that. And as I get older, I can watch this show and be like, oh, if I did do that and the women called me out on it, I would not handle it like Carolina. But also, I think I could be more sympathetic to somebody like Carolina who was experiencing things like that. So I don't know. I think it's also just hard when you're young and horny and tired.
I mean, yeah, but I also think that if you're one of the women that's watching how this is now what the second or third time that she has monopolized a group date and Grant's time and, taken him away for a huge chunk of the date, you get so little time with the lead that, of course, like she is painting a target on her back with that behavior. And on the one hand, it's like, I respect it. It's like, do what you got to do to get time because you have so little of it. Like, go for it. But on the other hand, it's like, I do understand why the women are like, what the fuck?
Right. And I think if Carolina had also just been able to be like, yep, sorry, and not tried to what's the word that I'm looking for? Not deflect as much or to make it seem like she's not trying to do that. Like you don't
Well,
owe
she
them an
kind of comes,
explanation. Like just own that that's what's going on and let that be that. But she
she
tries
kind
to
of comes with the attitude of like, I'm sorry you feel that way.
sorry, not sorry.
Yes, I think that's actually the problem is that she's not actually sorry for what she's doing.
Yeah, just
She's carrying herself in a way that the women, everyone's like you said, everyone's tired, everyone isn't eating, and everyone's like wearing down to the point where it's like I don't know. I don't blame the women for wanting to rip Carolina a new one.
but I also can respect that Carolina just is also not doing it. It's one of those things, and I'm not saying that it makes it better. Like she's not trying to be manipulative, but it is manipulation. But it's not I don't think it's calculated. She doesn't realize
I
that
don't think
that's
it's
no,
calculated.
she's not yeah. And so I
I
think that
think
that's the lack of awareness around that too. It just it's a hard situation and that's a hard conversation to have even with like people you feel comfortable with, but then essentially these women are strangers. So to be able to trust somebody to have that kind of emotionally intelligent conversation is just not something we can expect from this show.
I think Carolina's just honestly just being selfish.
Yeah,
She's not really considering how her actions are impacting other people, and so I think she's just kind of leading with selfish behavior.
totes. Anything else?
I do think it was crazy that Dina was suggesting that Carolina could tell Grant that she didn't want to talk to him because other women hadn't had the same amount of time. Like, I was
Dina,
like, girl,
I Dina just really I liked her, but she the last that the women tell all her apparently lying about her family to Grant and the in hometowns like I just don't think I like her too much. She's got some things she's got to work through too. Like, girl, you do not need to be throwing stones right now. Just sit back, go to therapy, figure your shit out.
yeah, Dina took her on, and I thought in Carolina's defense, I was surprised at how poor Dina's arguments were, considering that she's a lawyer. Because I was like, no one is ever going to sacrifice. Like, if Grant comes up to talk with you, you're never going to turn him
Well,
away.
and if you were to do that, like he would send you home immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, but that's kind of like right where nuance comes in too, and just not being able to have conversations where maybe multiple perspectives are right. So, yeah. Ugh. Okay. Do we want to talk about Latia's one-on-one?
I mean, there's not a lot to talk about. They
No,
kind
it
of
was
just,
pretty boring.
yeah, I will say the thing that stood out for me was the fact that she opens up about how her family is Mormon and talks about how she's never dated or brought home a guy that wasn't LDS.
Mhm.
And so that's a really big deal for her to admit that and for Grant to kind of take that on. Um, And I think my favorite part of the date was when he was talking about like his relationship with God and the role that that's played in his life, and that he just had a moment where he was able to open up and share and be vulnerable with Latia, and I feel like she really created a safe space for him. And I just feel like we rarely see the lead open up with the women or the men.
Oh,
It's usually
yeah.
like they're just kind of being trauma dumped on.
Mhm.
So I don't know. I loved that moment between them and the fact that she kind of just held him and loved him. And
Well,
um
and I think too, it's interesting to look at what Grant and Juliana talked about versus the framing with Latia and Grant. And that, like, honestly, Grant opening up to Latia, while that connection was like, it was still alluded to, he might have directly talked about addiction or feeling alone and all of that. But I think him making it about himself and that connection with God and how that got him through is actually a more vulnerable stance than just sort of focusing on the experience of having someone close to you with addiction. Like, it made it more about Grant, and I do think that that actually is more impactful and a more meaningful conversation to have and bond over. Um, and that God typically is a positive thing for people. That is something that, like, speaks to people's souls, spirits, however you wanna view that, and that was, yeah, it was tender, and it was good to see him open up. If I had to put my money on it, I would say that Latia is who he chooses just based on this.
I mean, I think so too. Like that seemed fairly obvious to me, but after listening to a couple other podcasts, I feel like it's pretty 50-50 on if people think it's Juliana or
Oh,
Latia.
well, that's because Grant doesn't know who he's choosing. I would be pissed, whoever wins, that he is, like, so undecided to the point where Jesse's like, "Well, I've gotta send somebody first." Like, that's not gonna feel good for either woman. Like, if you're second and you whatever, like, a coin flip, however is like, what the fuck? And if you're the winner, you're the person he chooses, like,
That
you
it was
love
that
somebody
close.
that, like, yeah, what? Woof, Grant.
I don't know.
Grant.
Let's see.
It's gonna be messy. I'm nervous.
So then we have the rose ceremony, and the final four for hometowns are Latia, Juliana, Dina, and surprisingly Zoe.
Wild that
I
Zoe
really
gets.
thought it was going to be Alex or Carolina.
Do you feel like, yeah, I do. I guess what I was going to ask is, how do you, it almost makes sense, right? That it was going to be Carolina, but just stuff had stacked up so much against her that he sort of just decided that Zoe was like the path of least resistance there. I feel like either way, it's not fair to Zoe, and I don't love it. But I do wonder, yeah, when that decision was made.
It's hard not to wonder, because otherwise why wouldn't he give her a one-on-one date? That doesn't make any sense. Um
No, because typically, has anybody, I think the answer to that is yes, this has happened before, but it's not common. If you don't get
no,
a one-on-one, you don't go to hometowns.
no, it's not common at all. I my theory is I think that he was going to ask Carolina, and something about what happened that day on the date and then Dina bringing it up to his attention. I think he changed his mind.
Yeah, back to that, like, you just don't wanna be part of drama, and, sometimes that means you have to just let the drama happen around you and not engage it and put on a brave face, and, yeah, I just, as much as I don't think it's Carolina's fault that other women went home, I don't necessarily think that it's Dina's fault that Carolina went home there either.
Oh yeah.
I
I don't
just,
think it's his fault. It's just hard not to know what influenced him.
yeah,
Like,
because,
Carolina's behavior could have influenced him. Like, the conversation they had on the group date could have influenced him.
yeah, so much of it. And it's probably a mixture of all things too. It's not to say that Dina's comment didn't have something to do with it, but it's not it's not the straw necessarily that broke the camel's back. There had to
Yeah.
be more there. So, okay, hometowns.
Man, this episode was just a bore. I just
I know. I don't know if we really need to spend like a ton of time on it. Juliana's family seems fine.
I thought
Uh,
it was. I mean, we had two big family get-togethers. Usually, I guess there have been a couple larger family get-togethers in the past, but that's not. We don't see a lot of that, and I thought it was cool to see like Juliana's big family, and her dad seemed really nice.
yeah, I I liked the families. I
Yeah.
mean, everybody's always not always. There have been some doozies, but all these people were lovely. So
What did you think about Dina's date?
that now with the information that it was her decision for Grant to not meet her family, I don't know. I thought that is so bizarre, especially, I don't know. Back to Dina needing to understand what accountability is. Like, she feels like she was not being genuine or honest through this process then if she didn't want her family to meet Grant. And then to blame it on her family is kind of an interesting thing. And I guess that was like a half truth, but
I just don't really see the value in not being honest about it.
I don't either,
I
because if like you are going to marry this person, do you not think that that's going to come up at some point, or like that that's not going to be something that matters? Yeah.
I also think it's understanding that, I come from this large family. Half of my family is willing to come and meet up with you, but the other half is like, I feel like they're really not supportive of this process or experience. And I feel like they would maybe be a little bit, uh, I don't know, like uninviting or,
This would be a better experience not captured on national television.
yeah. And so it's like, have her explain that. So, like, after figuring out this is where my family member stood, I've made the decision that I don't think this would be the best setting for you to meet my family. That being said, like,
Yeah.
want you to meet my family, and I'm hoping that on the other side of this, we can do a more natural setting where that will go a lot more smoothly.
Right. Where like the problem isn't Grant. The problem is the current situation and sort
Yeah.
of the television aspect of it and the show part of it. And that's reasonable. And yeah, I think had she been honest about that, that would have I don't know. I don't know. Well, I mean, to be honest, I just don't think Grant was that into her. I think that he liked the idea of her, this like really strong woman who has a career, doesn't need a man, like is all about 50-50 partnerships. But like, I don't know if I really have felt any sort of like genuine, like loving connection between the two of them anyway. But this could have been a door to that, like some vulnerability. And
Yeah,
it was a
I
moment
agree.
missed.
I agree because I feel like she put Grant in a hard position to just be like, my family like isn't supportive and they're not going to meet up with you. Eh, There's very little room for him to kind of work with that.
Right. Whereas if he understands that it's her decision, there's that 50-50 partnership again, right? Like, yes, this is your opportunity, but it's also mine. And yeah, so that was a real bummer to me. I mean, again, I guess I can't be too surprised that we're not getting um more nuanced and difficult conversations on a reality TV show, but I wish we did. I think that that would make more compelling TV, but
I
say
thought
lovey.
Latia I thought Latia's family embraced Grant well as coming from someone that has a Mormon background. I was a little on edge with how that meet and greet was going to go.
Oh, because
And
that could go a few different ways.
yeah, and I I'm just glad that they were, supportive of Latia's decision and they just wanted to make sure that he was a man of God and that was important to him and that they shared the same values. I will say it was like a little annoying that they were kind of like, Latia's ready to have babies, like whenever you are.
Oh my god, I know, like, please, let's not do this to people,
That
like,
coming from Latia or you
oh,
guys.
yeah, exactly. Um, her grandpa was so cute.
So cute. Oh,
I know,
my
I loved that, and all in all, I will say and this isn't I think that anytime you get a strong religion or a large group of people, be it Italians or Mormons kind of thing, there's always that risk too of it just feeling awkward and uncomfortable because people are really attached to their identity. But I was so impressed that they really did just like welcome him in, and it seemed like a very warm and inviting environment.
Yeah,
And I think that that's good for Latia. And it's always nice to see families do things that are good for the person on the show and not letting their shit get all mixed up in it.
totally.
So I loved that. Also, Wyoming is beautiful.
Oh my gosh.
Them
Also,
up there riding horses, doing like,
Latia on a horse is beautiful.
God, I know that woman is unreal. She's breathtaking. She is really beautiful. And her and Grant, damn, what a good looking couple.
I mean, if they're gonna have babies, they'd be cute.
Yeah. It's clear that Mormonism is a big part of who she is. She stated that. And I think that anytime one of the contestants has a strong religion and the other doesn't, that can be a little bit of a mismatch. How do you see that working out? Do you think that'll be a problem?
So I think that if for some reason Grant doesn't pick Latia, it would be because of the religion thing and the family thing. And not because, like, I think her family was accepting and everything, but if he actually gets to know her and the religion better and understand, like, kind of culturally how much that's going to impact him and his kids, I don't know. There's just a lot there. And so
Yes, that's yeah.
hopefully in the overnights they're able to talk through more of that because is he going to be okay with her taking their kids to church? Like, is that important to her? Because she kind of just summarizes, like, I want to make sure that my kids are raised in a house where they know that God loves them and all of that, but it's like, is that where it ends? Like, it seems overly simplified with how I know Mormon culture goes.
Yeah, I was gonna say, having grown up in Utah around that, and I also recognize that there's Utah specifically and the intensity of Mormonism here versus like Mormons who live in other states. And so I think also a factor there is like, are they Utah Mormons or are they a little bit
I was under
separated
the
from that?
impression her family was from Salt Lake City.
Yeah, I was too. So but then the Wyoming thing threw me. Maybe they just have property up there and that was a better place to meet, like more idyllic for a television show. But yeah, I do think that that's something that hopefully she discusses in detail because it almost does sort of become a lifestyle or like it's not a belief system in and of itself. It's more than that.
I don't think she expects Grant to get baptized, but I know it is really hard on couples when one of them is Mormon and one of them is not, because family is very important to the church and the family has to look a very specific way. And if your family doesn't look like that, it's really hard for you, like partners and kids, to operate in this space where they're being told, like, this is what a family should look like. And my family doesn't look like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tricky. So I hope they get time to talk about that. And yeah, I do also kind of feel like if he doesn't pick her, it would be because of that. Religion is a big one. So
Yeah.
dang. Okay. Well, um,
What did you think of Zoe's date?
it was fine.
I thought
Honestly,
the
like
photo shoot was weird.
yes, like I actually forgot that the photo shoot was the thing she decided to do.
I
It
felt like that was weird.
That was very heavy-handed. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I also just would be so curious. I'm looking forward to Zoe getting to do post-show interviews to see if she has a sense that like it's not good that she hasn't had a one-on-one and if she feels like she sort of was a last-minute addition to all of this. Yeah, where was her head at when she decided to do a bridal photo shoot?
I don't know. I also just feel like she kind of summarizes herself as like, he knows that I'm an engineer, but I want him to know the model side of me. And it's like, okay, but what about more about you as an individual? Like, what are your values? Like, what makes up your personality? Like, what about, even if we're not going to meet your adoptive parents, like more about like your upbringing or, your sister. I don't know. I just felt like the wedding photo shoot just left me hanging. Like I still feel like I don't know Zoe well at all. And it felt awkward.
Yes. You actually touched on something. I remember at one point in therapy, I was trying to explain, like, my therapist had been like, well, who are you? And I started like talking about all these roles that I fill. And she's like, no, strip back the roles, really dig deep on like your beliefs, your values, your morals, like who you are, like what matters to you. And that was a surprisingly difficult thing to like shove aside all of these roles that, you fill in your day-to-day life. And so I think you're exactly right. Like Zoe focused a little bit too much on those roles and not like truly deep down. That isn't like really challenging to get at when we live in a society that props you up based on your roles.
Yeah, that's
So,
true.
like, I do understand where she's coming from, but yeah, again, another missed opportunity to really connect with Grant, though maybe she just wanted to have fun and just was like, fuck it. I know he's not choosing me, so what's the most ridiculous thing I can do?
Fucking overnights.
I
Ah.
know. I know. That is so bananas to me, but I like, what's he gonna do? Eliminate Dina and Zoe?
Well, I mean, were you surprised he picked Zoe over Dina?
Um, to be honest, actually, yeah. Like, like, not that I think that he and Dina had a great connection, but he definitely had more of a connection with Dina than he did with Zoe.
That's what I
Dina
thought.
got a one-on-one.
And even the language that he's talking to Zoe's family of like, I can see this working with her. Like, it's all very kind of canned responses where
Yes.
I can see myself getting there with her. I like her a lot. Like, whereas Juliana and Latia, it's so different. I don't know. I hate it for Zoe.
I do too. I hate it. Yeah. I think that she really is in a weird spot. And that's also to say, like, I don't think she's doing anything wrong. I think that this is just a
No.
flaw of the show
Yeah.
that's being kind of highlighted right now. Is she should just have never been able to make it this far, and Grant should have had an opportunity to send her home before this. Or
I
have like a
think
secret or like a surprise one-on-one, like get her that time.
I think overnight should be with the top two. I don't think overnight should have three.
Yeah, you've talked about that before where like you rearrange some of the structure so that you wind up doing that. Yep, I agree.
It'll be interesting to see what happens with Latia being like, well, I hope he doesn't sleep with anybody. She doesn't say it like that,
Oh my
but
god, I know we're just like back to a Clayton situation.
or Zach.
Oh my god, these men. I will be honest, Grant seems much more mature and capable of navigating this. I mean, I guess he can prove us wrong. We'll find out. But I have, and it's maybe misplaced faith, but I have more faith in Grant than I
No, I
definitely
feel that.
did. Fucking Clayton, man. What a putz.
I agree. I also have more faith in Grant. Um, but I also just wish that it was a conversation between like Latia and him, and there didn't have to be well, this ITM moment where she's like, I hope he doesn't be intimate with someone else because that would impact like my decision and tra la la. Like, I don't even like the fact that we're privy to how she's feeling about it. I mean, I don't know. Does that make
Yes,
sense?
because I do understand. It's like sex and intimacy are there. It's intimate, and it should definitely be between them and not something used to sell the next episode of The Bachelor. Um, because she can feel that way, and that's fine for her to have
Yeah.
that feeling. Like, if that's a boundary for her, that's a boundary. But also, the show should give people space to express that, I think, before these things happen. I don't know. And, we've heard, I think Nick Viall has talked about this, where you either know who you're picking and that's the person that you sleep with and nobody else, or you just don't sleep with anybody to avoid sort of any missteps or a potential for ruining something. And I think that can also be smart. Like, so we'll see.
Just don't do what Clayton did.
Or Zach.
Or Zach. Or probably a few leads who have really.
Yeah. I don't know. Juliana made like a really kind of backhanded comment about like something to the effect of like women don't come on here to sleep with the lead if they're not going to get picked, or like, I don't know. It just didn't sit well with me. And I was just like, again, stop saying these things. Just let people have their boundaries behind closed doors and let that be that.
Yeah,
No judgment. No, I don't need to hear from everybody. I don't need to know what's going on.
I mean, I know that it kind of creates drama, and we're watching a reality TV show, but it does feel like it's not our business. Like, I don't want to know if he's sleeping with two people or one person or none of them.
Or all three. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, not my business.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't need to be that. Have they moved to, do we still call them fantasy suites?
I don't know. I feel like.
Is this show call them that?
I think so.
Ugh, I hate that.
Right? I feel like they do. We'll see. We'll find out.
We will. Overnights. You know?
I think overnight.
Right. Stop. Get the implication out that like.
That's not doing anyone any favors.
No, I think it puts too much pressure on the situation that just genuinely doesn't need to be there. So, okay. Anything else about that episode?
No.
Same. Okay. Women tell all. We don't have to go too hard into this one either. I feel like it's always so disappointing to watch people on stage just yell at each other.
Yeah, this was hard to watch. I just think they should not do the tell-all anymore.
Yeah, the only tell-all that I've seen that I really enjoyed was The Golden Bachelor.
But that's because those people legitimately like show up for each other and support each other and
totally
are invested in each other.
Whereas otherwise, whether it's The Bachelorette or The Bachelor, everybody's just so shitty, and it makes me like everybody less.
Yeah,
and I don't need that.
And it's like if you want me to like them and be invested in them going to paradise, don't put them on the tell-all.
Yeah, just no. Shout out to Hakeem watching the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives trailer and capturing how we all feel through his facial expressions.
Well, I think we know that Hakeem's definitely going to paradise.
Yes, I want my man to do well there. I really liked him.
I liked him too. Who else was he there with? It was the finalists in Gem season, right?
Yes, I can see all of their faces. Jonathan, who is still, I don't know, it's interesting to me that he and Jen never made it work, but.
Oh, because they were kind of flirting with the idea of it, seemingly. I don't remember the Jewish guy's name.
I should remember because I really liked him.
I know, and they did
Jeremy.
Jeremy,
my man Jeremy, who stopped the car to make out with Jen. I will never forget it. Brilliant.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see who ends up in paradise. I mean, the whole tell-all was just Carolina versus the women. And as much as we have been frustrated with maybe Carolina's actions during the show, that's not fun to watch. I don't want to see one woman get like beat up verbally by a group of women. I don't either.
It's not fun. I don't think there's a lot wrong with that. And I hate that is a selling point of these tell-alls. It's never fun. Even Shanae, who was like a gigantic bitch through her entire season, not fun to watch her get ripped to shreds. I hated it. Nothing about there was no justice in any of this. Like nothing was achieved by everybody behaving the way that they did. So I just was not a fan of that. Jesse could not get them under control. Boo. Didn't need that.
I don't think that Jesse knows that when you play Chubby Bunny that you're supposed to say Chubby Bunny between the bunnies.
Oh.
Because he was just like shoving marshmallows in there and Grant was like,
So could we say that Jesse cheated a little? Maybe not intentionally, but our man did not know the rules.
That was cute, though.
Grant looked absolutely stricken at the end of the episode, though. Like, I am nervous for Grant.
I'm also nervous for Grant.
Like, I just even and like there's obviously things we don't know, but from what we do know, like I was saying earlier, there's just this does not feel like either whoever ends up like I mean, let's be real, it's not going to be Zoe. You know, Latia or Juliana, somebody like both people are going to not feel great.
Yeah, it's messy.
Because then if it is Zoe at the end too, then we've got like a whole other can of worms too, but like no way,
yes,
right?
unless for some reason production is like, listen, Grant, really play up how hard you are, like how hard this decision is, because we haven't had a lot of drama this season. We need to make this ending more interesting. I mean, I'm not saying that that's happened, but I'm trying to figure out, how does Grant go to the women he picked and be like, how does he justify what happens? Because like you said, that like whether you're the woman that doesn't get picked or the woman who's picked, both are fucked.
Yeah, and I would also go so far as to say, like, if production did that and Grant went along with it and didn't protect his relationship with whoever he was going to choose, that's also kind of like a scummy move on Grant's part to go along with that if that's what happens. Because, like, dude, no, stand up for your future wife. Like, stand up for your partner. Don't just bend over to make good television. Don't. I don't know. Yeah, I'm nervous.
I am also nervous.
I wish this show did not end in an engagement.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna save my Love Is Blind rant for another time. But
Oh, dang,
next
that's
podcast,
right. Okay, guys, next time, come ready and bring your
at
popcorn.
least it's
Mandy's
only,
gonna give us her takes.
at least it's only an engagement.
Yeah,
Because
not a whole ass wedding.
that to me is so heinous.
I concur. Okay. Well, anything else about the women's Stello?
No, I'm getting a little bored of these. You know, what are they called? Like the fact that they were kind of advertising for the Snow White movie. What is
Oh,
that?
yeah. Promotion.
Promotions. I'm getting kind of tired of these promotions within these reality shows.
I agree. And I didn't feel like that added anything. Who's the messiest? Who's the cleanest? Like, cool.
Also, Dina does laundry every day. Like, she doesn't put dirty clothes in a dirty clothes hamper ever.
That's not only wasteful, that is like exhausting. I can
And
barely do my laundry when I'm down to like my least favorite pair of underwears, you know? I could not imagine doing it every day. Though, I guess if you did it every day, your laundry wouldn't be the nightmare that my laundry ends up being.
and then when she was saying how she has an open trash can in the bathroom, but you're not allowed to put trash in it, it's just for show because she doesn't want to visibly like see trash.
Then get a trash can with a lid. Dude, yeah, there's some wild things there. I think that there's a lot to unpack. I think Dina definitely needs to go to therapy. And she would benefit from it. She does not need to carry all of this around with her. That just feels exhausting to me. You know? I was happy to see Linda.
Linda, yes, it's good to see Linda again.
Is Linda not Alex's llama? I mean, because I keep thinking about this. It can't be, right? Because she couldn't have brought her llama from Canada.
Yeah, I think Linda was just like a prop.
Okay.
But we like, hopefully Linda is living her best life.
Yeah, on a fun llama farm somewhere.
Yeah.
Totes.
With like getting lots of pets and snacks.
So many snacks. Okay. Anything else?
No, I think that's it for me.
Okay. Well, is next week the final episode, or are there 2 more episodes left? There've got to be 2 more, because next week will be overnights, and then the following week will be the finale. Dang. So then we're done.
We know when the Valley starts.
April 15th.
Okay.
So we'll have a little bit of a break, maybe a week or 2, and then I think we want to start podcasting about the Valley, which, my God.
Whoever hasn't watched the trailer, like, saddle up, because
I was not expecting that. Like, I obviously knew the Jax drama was coming, right? That's been evident for a while that we had heard about Britney filing for divorce, moving out, all of those things. And I guess Jesse and Michelle too. But then Danny and I can't think of her name. Anyway, everybody is just falling apart.
Everybody's falling apart.
And in not a good way. And like, I hate that I live in a universe where I'm cheering on Lala because she's letting Jesse have it and he deserves it. And I'm glad that it's Lala dishing it out, but also like, she's still not my favorite person by far. She is awful.
No, it looks so messy. Shit's going down. I'm so interested to see Sheena and Lala and Schwartz and like how big of roles they're playing because I know that they're just coming on as friends of.
Mm-hmm.
But it'll be interesting to see how they balance those new players. Yeah, I don't know. I'm hesitant to say I'm excited because it also could be terrible, but also, you know, it's kind of like watching a car crash. Like you can't look away, but
yeah, and I definitely have different feelings. Like watching Vanderpump and all of these, they weren't young, but yeah, like unattached, not married, no kids. I guess whatever, like fuck up your life. Go for it. Enjoy. But when you've got kids, suddenly I'm like, ooh, the stakes feel a little higher and a little like you're doing some real damage here. So yeah, I'm nervous. Like
I'm also nervous.
I knew it was going to be dramatic, but I was not expecting it to be that dramatic. So yeah, I'm with you. I just kind of feel like we're just going to hold on to our butts and see what happens.
All right. We're going to do it.
We're going to do it. And then I don't know what else is coming up. Bachelor in Paradise, that we don't have a date for it. So stay tuned. We'll definitely cover that. And then potentially Love Island.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So that's kind of our lineup for now, but
I've heard good things about Temptation Island on Netflix.
Oh, okay. That could be fun.
That show originally started before The Bachelor, but then it got canceled. It's come back. It's got canceled. Anyways, I think they're trying to bring it back, but could be interesting. I don't know. I'm gonna check it out and see what it's about.
That sounds good. I know there was another one on HBO that was also recommended to us, and I can't remember the name of it, but we probably need to start putting our feelers out for other things because we're sure as shit not going to do Love is Blind.
No.
Okay. Well,
all right.
This was fun.
Yeah, love you guys.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Drama Bonded is produced and hosted by Mandy Booth and Jessica Brumbaugh. Graphic designer is Pigeon House. Thank you.